Everyone, it's Ross, and it is blazing out here. Oh my God, it is so warm. I can't believe it. It's only April 14th, 13th, something like that. We're on a Saturday, and it's gonna be almost 80 degrees out here. Maybe it is already. I should be wearing shorts. But the point is that it's getting so hot that I figured it's probably a good time to get up our trellises for our annual vegetables. And I want to show you guys how I'm trellising my vegetables, why I'm trellising my vegetables. Definitely here in this climate, growing things vertically, and especially in my backyard where there's just limited space, right? Growing things vertically is going to give you a lot of space. You can see these are the only beds I have dedicated towards all my heat-loving crops. Just these two, which is 16 feet long, this one behind it, 3 feet wide, and this one's only 10 feet long. So for me, I really have to make use of my space. And certainly here in this climate where we get lots of rain, we have lots of humidity, there's lots of disease that can affect a lot of these heat-loving crops. Things like tomatoes, melons, cucumbers, right? All that stuff can be really plagued by disease. And by growing them vertically, trimming out the bottoms, increasing the airflow to these plants, also putting them in a really nice location where we have them here. It's really dry here, and it's also gets sun all day, and it gets hit by that morning sun. You know, this is really the best spot for this kind of thing. And all this together, especially growing them vertically, I really do believe the way that we're training them as single stem plants, we're going to grow them up these poles, these EMT poles. They're 10 foot long, and some of them, depending on the size, I want to show you here, we have some rebar in the ground. So I'm going to take this particular pole, and what you can do with the rebar, if I can get around this trellis, so you can stick the 3/4 inch. This is taking a lot of skill, I have to say. I'm an athlete, guys. But basically, we got that 3/4 inch EMT pole, and that fits real snug around some rebar that's very easily driven in the ground, whereas these 3 foot width poles, these 3/4 inch poles, these guys are actually pretty difficult to get in the ground, whereas these 1/2 inch, the size smaller, they're a bit easier to get in the ground. And we really want to secure these things in the ground because the fruit set on some of these plants that we're going to be growing is so heavy that by the end of the season it can tilt over a little bit. And you can see this one here is a bit out of whack, so we'll have to kind of adjust this guy more to the right. And you know, it's kind of like a little work in progress as the season goes on, but realistically we just want to start out at the right place, because the effort and the problems really come in when the the poles come in together up at the top. But down below, the spacing we're going to use for the tomatoes, we're doing actually 6 rows of tomatoes, so three per row, and I'm going this way, by the way, when I'm talking about rows. So in total 18 tomato plants, and each tomato plant gets 1 square foot. And I've seen it done even closer. I've seen it done 8 inches with less success. And then I've also seen it done in greenhouses that these market gardeners are doing. They're doing them at 10 inches apart. So we're doing 12. We've done 12 in prior years. Craig Boyer, my buddy up in Yardley, he was telling me that, or I went to visit his place, and he was growing them, and he's actually the one who turned me on to these EMT poles, is that he was growing a tomato plant up this pole, and he had it, I would say, about a single stem plant up to about waist high, and then from there he let it grow into a multi-stemmed plant, probably like 2 or 4 stems up the rest of the pole, and this thing was beautiful. Oh my God, and the amount of fruit off of that one plant, I couldn't believe it. It was insane. I had no issues with it. And this is just, again, a different way of doing it, but it's very similar to what Craig was mentioning, in that we're going to do 1 single stem all the way up the pole. And then when they reach the top, because they do reach the top pretty quick, and you're only so tall, so you have to tie them all the way up as they go. Eventually they droop down. And as soon as they start drooping down, I let them just go nuts, because by that time we're getting towards the end of the season, and there's only so much time that they can flower and then ripen those fruits. So I kind of just let them put out as much growth, as much flowers as possible, so that what's inevitably going to happen, and you can go back, I mean, this isn't something that is a secret or something I haven't done, is that I'm getting beefsteak tomatoes mid-October, so 15th of October, I was getting beefsteak tomatoes. Those are the last of them. And those are from the beginning of the year all the way to the end of the year. I didn't have to succession plant. That was one plant that we stuck in the ground. All the plants in this little corner where we had them last year were producing for me till mid-October. That's incredible, because nobody is getting tomatoes grown the conventional way as bush plants. Nobody's getting that. And everybody's got disease. You would not believe how many people I've heard in Jersey, Pennsylvania, they're like, oh my God, I can't grow tomatoes here. There's just too much disease. I'm like, are you guys kidding? Because this is like, it's a no-brainer. It really is. The difference between a bush tomato plant and growing them like this is just dramatic. It really is. So we're gonna do this not only with the tomatoes, we're doing this with the cucumbers, the eggplants, and all the melons. We're doing about 15 varieties or 16 varieties of melons. So we're gonna have 18 varieties of tomatoes, 16 varieties of melons. They're also gonna be somewhere in this bed too. And we're doing 2 varieties of cucumbers, 1 variety of eggplant. And I wanna show you, because the cucumbers you really should do about 1.5 feet away from each other. We'll do the cucumbers here, 3 cucumber plants. That's really all I need, believe it or not, because they're so vigorous. They put out so much fruit. I'm only one person. That 3 cucumber plants is really all I need. The melons, we do 1.5 feet apart. So you can see here, the tomatoes will end on this pole here, and then it'll go 1 foot. Actually, I'm sorry, yeah, it ends on this pole here, and then 1.5 feet away is the melon. Another 1.5 feet away is the next melon. 1 foot away is the cucumber, and then 1 foot away is another melon, and then 1.5 feet away is the next melon. And we're gonna do this pretty much all the way down. This whole thing here is gonna be covered with these poles. I just think it's a really great way in general to grow vegetables, is vertically. It saves you lots of space. Definitely gets rid of a lot of that disease pressure, or eases up on the disease pressure. I don't know if you guys heard what I said because of the wind, but we do also have a different way of doing this that I'm sure Chris is probably going to chime in, or maybe he already did chime in, or many of you guys have chimed in, because these poles are a bit expensive, but because I've already bought them, this is the system that I'm going with. I'm just reusing them. And I'm sure there's a better thing you could do. You could build something. You could build a nice little arbor that looks much more beautiful than this. This is not the prettiest thing, but when they are covered with plants, you don't really see the poles, that's for sure. But you could build a nice little wooden structure that goes across the bed, and then from that wooden structure, you hang strings. And the strings you can wrap around the tomato plants. You can wrap around the cucumbers. That's what a lot of these guys are doing commercially in greenhouses, to keep these plants up, and you just wrap it around the stem. It's really easy. Rather than having to come in here as the tomato plant or whatever it is grows up the pole, I have to tie it to this pole about every 2 to 3 feet. So it's really up to you and how you guys want to do this, but I'm just telling you guys this is how I'm doing it. The poles here are about $2.50 a piece, depending on the size. I think they're a little bit less or a little bit more depending on the size. Definitely, if you were to build a permanent structure, I think it's probably, it will inevitably be cheaper, but also will be prettier. So, you know, it's really up to you, and it's really up to what you can afford. Also, you could just get bamboo stakes. The bamboo stakes are not going to be, you know, 10 feet tall like these EMT poles are, and these are going to last a long time. They really do. Also, you could trim off some of your trees. Like if you guys are taking large branches off your trees, those could be potential stakes. But anyway, the whole thing here, what I wanted to discuss was show you guys how I'm doing this. The rebar with the larger size, you got the smaller size. you know, the spacing of all these plants, what is actually going to go in here, and that was it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I certainly did in making it, and I've been sweating my balls off trying to make this. So we're going to continue with that. Break's over. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this one, you want to see more about how this is going to turn out, follow the channel, you know, subscribe, like this video. Also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll certainly be doing more posts and whatnot. The content's just so different over there than it is in the videos. Same thing with the website, rossratty.wixsite.com/blog, and we'll see you there. All right, take care, everyone.